Hi there, and welcome again to the superpilotish channel. I'm Graham Wilson, hanging out in my basement, talking about airplanes and talking about, well, whatever comes to mind, and whatever you bring up here in the chat. Welcome to the channel. And today I was going to talk about, um, uh, we got, okay, yeah, the title was Sausages in Space, right? So I figure it's a little bit provocative, but I got that because I have this book that I was thinking about. I got this old book. It's from 1935. It's called The Complete Book of Aviation. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, Complete Book of Aviation, 1935. And I got that from where I used to work. There was an older guy that came in there. We'll keep him sort of anonymous, I guess. We'll call him Good Old Dave. Well, good old Dave used to come in there, and he's a pretty accomplished pilot. He'd built an airplane from scratch, like right from the plans, making rounded gas tanks and stuff in his garage. And the guy's a real whiz, he's a mechanical engineer by trade, long retired now. But good old Dave came in one time when I first started there. And I was like, who is this guy? I don't know. I'll just say hi. Well, we kind of hit it off, and he found out that he had a little machine shop in his garage, and I used to be a machinist. So he'd pick my brain a little bit every once in a while to see, how should I drill this, or how can I, make this bigger, smaller, this little pocket? How would you do that? And Dave eventually went on to teach himself how to be a very good machinist. And my parents were downsizing out of their house, and I picked up some old Popular Mechanics magazines that belonged to my grandfather. And I thought this is really interesting. You see the jetpacks in the future and all that other cool stuff that used to be around. So just for fun, I brought it into the where I worked, and well, Dave picked it up one day and he started reading it, and he thought it was really interesting. There was a few more of those old Popular Mechanics and Popular Science magazines. I'd kind of bring them in every week, and eventually, good old Dave, he said, well, I got this other book you might like, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. And so he gave me, thanks, Dave, the Complete Book of Aviation. So I was really surprised about when I read it, and I remember seeing in there that it's 1935, and they were talking about space travel and how you don't in outer space there's no oxygen, so you'd have to have liquid oxygen. But in 1935, they were still talking about space travel and rocket ships. So I was trying to find the exact spot in the book. Like, it's really neat. It's like how to build a Zeppelin and all kinds of really neat things. I'll just show you too. They got some of the lots of pictures of the high-tech aircraft of the day. What do we got here? Oh, look at this. We got really cool looking gyrocopter there. There we go. That's the cutting edge for 1935. I got some guys flying over a bridge here in formation. Yeah, so there you go, high tech. And so I just thought what I did find was talking about space flight. They called it astronautics. So I was looking into that, and I was trying to find something maybe about stratosphere. So I was looking under S. It's in alphabetical order, and I was looking for stratosphere, and then I came across sausage. So in 1935, sausage is like some sort of an aeronautical term. And it's defined as, okay, sausage, a term for a conical streamer used on aerodromes and landing grounds for indicating the direction of the wind. And I'm thinking that's a windsock. Everybody's. I've never heard a windsock referred to as a sausage. So, I don't know. Maybe if someone wants to comment later, like, do they call them sausages in like South Africa or India or China, or I don't know. I don't know how to say sausage in Spanish, but Brazil or Portuguese, Brazil. So, anyways, there you go. You learned something new. In 1935, they used to call windsocks sausages. It's right here in the Encyclopedia of Aviation. I wonder if I can even show that to you. Don't want to lose my page. Here we go. Sausage definition, just so you know I'm not lying to you. Can we see that there? Sausage right about by my finger. All right, you can take a screenshot, do whatever you want. Anyways, there it is. And okay, so that's the sausages part of the broadcast today. And now we're going to go on to astronautics, which is something in 1935 that they used to talk about. So this I don't know if it'll be dry or boring or or whatever, but I figured it would give me a little bit of content to read here. And I love the way that they used to write back in the 30s and the 50s and the 40s, and their aviation, I don't know, intrepid men, and going forth, young man, all of that stuff. So it's kind of a real small. It's very small type, so my glasses, my bifocals, my progressive lenses got to get a little tune up here. But all right, we'll just kind of put those over there, and then I can read them. Okay, so this is the definition of astronautics. Okay, for many years past, bands of earnest and enthusiastic workers have been striving to solve the problem of traveling in the vacuum of outer space. It is the result of their labors, their experiments, calculations, and analyses of the conditions and prerequisites necessary for spaceflight, not only in the upper limits of the Earth's atmosphere, but beyond it in the vacuum of space, that has formed the skeleton framework upon which the new science of astronautics is based. Not only would traveling in the highly rarefied regions of upper and outer space require but a fraction of the power expended by the ordinary aeroplane, but at such altitudes an eternal sameness reigns. Isn't that poetic? The adverse climatic conditions encountered in close proximity to the Earth's surface, such as fog and snow, lightning and storms, are non-existent there. Hence, traveling at ultra-high speeds with safety and reliability is always possible in these altitudes, no matter what may be the conditions below. So they were thinking back in 1935, if we can just get on top of these clouds, we're in good shape. And it is because no form of internal combustion engine airplane could conceivably operate in these highly rarefied regions, and because the ultra-high speeds projected would be quite impossible in the lower regions on account of the heat generated by friction, that an entirely new type of spaceship has had to be evolved. So they could already tell back in 1935 that as you're going faster, you get friction with the atmosphere. And you always see that when spaceships come back, you see them burning up on re-entry. Well, that's friction, and they knew that back in 1935. Okay, thus, an entirely new science of spaceflight has come into being. This new science has been called astronautics. Notwithstanding the enormous progress and development of the present-day aeroplane, and notwithstanding the brilliant prophecies made on its behalf for the future, the adherents of astronautics maintain that the potentialities of spaceflight are so vast and stupendous that it offers to futurity a revolution in passenger transit as great in comparison with present-day air travel as the locomotive and the motor car were to the horse-driven stagecoach. So they were thinking, like in 1935, hey, we're going to have passengers flying all over the place. Okay, where are we here? Where air flight promises the accomplishment of future long-distance journeys as a matter of days. So it used to take days to fly places, long distances back in 35. Space flight promises the same in hours. In fact, it is affirmed that by space flight, no terrestrial journey, even to the most distant part of the world, need be no longer than a matter of 2 or 3 hours. Exclamation point. And moreover, once this stage is reached, journeys to the moon or even Venus or Mars, far from being an impossible dream, will be reasonably possible of achievement. So hey, we're going to Mars. Take that, Elon Musk. They were talking about that in 1935. Okay, that such interplanetary journeys will one day be attempted seems more than probable. Well, they were hopeful back in 1935. In every age and every clime, intrepid men will be found who are prompted by a high spirit of adventure, caring as little for terrible risks and dangers as for the hope of reward. The more daring spirits among them, longing for fresh worlds to conquer, will of a certainty push out even farther and farther into the vastness of space. The call, the urge of the unfathomable unknown will be on them, for even today it is generally conceded that there may well be inhabited worlds other than our own. 1935, well, I guess I've been reading a lot of science fiction, alien novels and stuff. Who knows, but that one day these ardent spirits will laugh at us as ancients for declaring interplanetary travel impossible, just as the scientists, wiseacres, and critics of only 30 years ago declared heavier than air flight impossible. Astronautics is the science of spaceflight. By spaceflight, it is now they're getting into the definition here. By spaceflight is meant travel in the upper regions of the Earth's atmosphere and beyond it in the region of the pure ether of space. The pure ether of space is generally regarded as being almost, but not quite, a perfect vacuum. As ordinary travel by aeroplane is at present conducted within the limits of the breathable atmosphere surrounding the Earth, it is spoken of as air flight. The difference between space flight and air flight is fundamental and of vital importance. Hence, there should be no confusion in understanding the meanings of these terms. So there we go. They just defined astronautics, and they gave a little they gave a reference. The subject is dealt with very fully in as a publication, Stratosphere and Rocket Flight by, it says Chas period G period Philip period. So Chas G Philip. I looked into that. What's this Chas period thing? I think they used to call that short for Charles. Chas. I don't know, but I found some weird. It might be a fake link that I found, but it's it's like some Russian unsecured link. But it looked like it had all the names Stratosphere and Rocket Flight in it. So I'm going to put that in the description below as a link, and there we go. Definition of astronautics. So, and then you're thinking, oh, yeah, that's where they got astronaut from, so pretty cool. And so now we know about, so I was thinking, okay, we've learned about the sausage, and we know the definition of astronautics from 1935. And what else can we talk about here? We could talk about, how did I put them together? In the at the beginning, I did some more great artwork, not on the whiteboard, but on the cardboard. And so there we go. That was my my windsock in outer space. So the sausages in space. Okay, and so what else we got here? Let's see who's in the chat. We got Sephardine Squibb is complimenting on my lovely sausage that I drew. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about too, about like, why did that go out of use? They don't call those things sausages anymore. And I think I know. Every pilot knows why, you don't really want to be talking about sausages too much at the airport. Because they always barbecue. It's going to be very confusing, and we like concise language in aviation. So I'm pretty sure that's why it went out. They said, okay, call the sausages. We'll call that a windsock. No confusion. Safety will not be compromised. So I think that's probably why safety or sausage went out of vogue. So let me see here what else I was going to talk about. Well, we just, I don't really see any, let me see here. Oh, Sephardine Squibb, he was asking about, didn't they have Zeppelins then? Yes, they did. And it's really cool. The, in the book, what was it? The Complete Book of Aviation, they have a whole section on Zeppelins, and it, like that was the big thing in 1935, right? I mean, they were building a bunch of Zeppelins. Okay, here we go. So it's like, you want to know how a Zeppelin is constructed? So can you see the Zeppelin there? Yeah. So it's like they're talking all about like the handling and flying of airships. I'm going to see. Okay, here we go. Here's the hull of the new Zeppelin LZ-129. So here's where the passengers would hang out in the Zeppelin. There you go. So it's like it's talking like a lot about and physiological considerations of flying when you're flying a Zeppelin. So yeah, the Zeppelins back then, they probably weren't pressurized, so they probably couldn't get that high. I know balloons, ultralights, gyroplanes, and I'd imagine Zeppelins too are very susceptible to you know discomfort, or they have low wind limitations. So once it gets over a certain wind speed, they become unhandleable. You'll never see the Goodyear blimp flying around when it's a big windy day. It's tied down. Yeah, so they did have Zeppelins back then, and oh well, I don't know if I'd want to go on a see back then. I don't know. Maybe if anyone, people were wondering why the Hindenburg blew up. Well, what they were doing back then, they were using hydrogen instead of helium. This was, I don't know. I did a project on this like back in eighth grade, so I'll sound like an expert here. But yeah, the Hindenburg, it blew up because they were using hydrogen instead of helium, and hydrogen is explosive, and then helium is not. So they just took one little spark, and they have these big bladders of explosive gas, and then that's all it takes. Hydrogen will it's the lightest element out there, so in effect it would be better than helium. But yeah, it's we don't use anything too explosive in aviation. We're all about safety. What else could I tell you about here? Well, I think that's probably about it for today. And I think if anybody, I think what I'm going to be talking about on Wednesday, I'll be doing this show. I did pretty well last week, even though my very first show was a train wreck. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern time. And then I'll be talking about whatever. I'm going to mix it up next. I was talking about sausages today. I think Wednesday I'm going to be talking tomatoes, and you'll be surprised what happens. Or if you're a gardener, you might go, "Oh, I didn't know that." Or if you're just into airplanes, you'd be like, "I don't care," but that's okay. Leave comments below. Any way you want. You could. I have a website up that's it's still really bad because I'm doing it myself. But I have a post office box if you want to send me stuff. And then I can I don't know, unbox something like, oh, what did I get? Oh, somebody sent me a Tim Hortons gift card. Oh, I'm Canadian. Of course, that's going to go to good use. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about some tomatoes. I don't know, space tomatoes. Maybe I should do some space tomatoes or airplane tomatoes things. Oh well. I'm taking the tomatoes after this right outside. Going to harden them off this week. The weather's going to be absolutely beautiful where I am here in Windsor, Ontario. And should be planting them next Saturday. And there we go. So, but I'll see you Wednesday at noon. Thanks for watching. We'll just kind of shut her down right here, and you can think if you're thinking about what to have on the barbecue. Hey, sausages. Just don't eat a windsock. Okay, so thanks for watching, everybody. All right, bye.